Dexter Resurrection is back this week with episode 6, and boy, did this episode have a ton of twists within it. With this episode specifically being focused on Gareth, the Gemini Killer, and the twist that saw the reason as to why he killed in pairs being revealed, but also the focus on the relationship that a child has with their parent through blessing and prudence, and Dexter wanting to mirror it with Harrison. The ending of this episode is probably the best that we've had out of the 6 episodes so far. Did you see that twist coming with Gareth at the end? And did you also see what happened to Mia being the case too? Well, let's dive into this episode and break down all the important details. Here is Dexter Resurrection episode 6, Ending Explained. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. Gareth's twist explained. Well, during the ending of this episode, Gareth was actually revealed to be a twin, and the Gemini Killer was actually the Gemini Killers. This is something that nobody else in the serial killer group knows about, including Prater, which I thought was particularly interesting. It was something that the twins decided to keep to themselves, so I'm intrigued to see if Dexter is going to reveal this information to him to get into Prater's good books, seeing as though all of the killers have been dying since his arrival, so it could be a way to show trust. To be fair, it was there right in the name all along. The Gemini constellation in the zodiac is known as the twins, so it was right there under our nose. Gareth showed a lot about his character in this episode, in the sense that he wanted to be number one at everything, and he wanted to be the most prolific serial killer that there could be. And to be fair, with him killing in pairs, it was said that he had at least 32 victims. So other than Dexter, he did have the highest kill count. He also thrived on the Gemini Killer gaining notoriety, and the fact that it had become this character that had broken into the mainstream. He was top of the FBI's most wanted list and was having books and articles written about him, and even a feature film in the works. What was the biggest tell that Gareth was a twin in this episode that only made sense at the end was the note that he left in the book. He left a note which said 8 PM on it, and when Dexter asked him who the note was for, he said, "Me." Meaning that this is most likely the way that himself and his twin coordinate the kills that they're going to do, and the way that they communicate with each other. Their justification for killing in pairs was that people are born in the world on their own, and they depart the world on their own, so dying together was seen as the ultimate bond in their eyes. The both of them, of course, didn't enter this world on their own, and the bond that they had with each other was something that they clearly wanted to push onto others. So in having victims that were father and sons and people that were related binded them together in a way that they never could have imagined. I love the fact that Dexter outsmarted the most egotistical killer that there was when he was sat at the table, anticipating the switch of the drink and ultimately making Gareth consume the beverage with the substance in. Even the fact that Dexter didn't want to hear another word from Gareth because he couldn't listen to the arrogance anymore. Taking away his voice when that was the thing that he loved most, to gloat, to brag, and to seem like the best. It was the perfect kill for Dexter. The Gemini Killers have been able to thrive and operate successfully because there's been 2 of them. Who's been at the parties? Was it the one that we saw earlier, or the one that we saw in episode 4? Have they been the same? So that's an avenue that I'm keen to see being explored. The Gareth we saw in this episode was filled with a lot more paranoia and fear than the one that we saw in episode 4. So I wonder if we saw 2 different versions of the same character. Twins can look similar, but there's nothing to say that their personalities are going to be the exact same. Mia was key to cracking Dexter's identity. When we saw Batista convince Detective Wallace to get in the same room as Mia, I thought Dexter's identity as the Bay Harbour Butcher was bound to be revealed, and him posing as Red was going to dissolve. However, when they got to the prison, it was made out like she ended things for herself, and she was found dead. Just like how that killer that was previously sitting around the table at Prater's that we heard about only lasted 1 day in prison before they apparently ended things. If I'm being honest, I don't think that Mia would have been able to have kept her mouth shut if she had have seen that photo of Dexter. And I reckon Prater and Charlie would have liked to have known that information, but with her speaking, she'd have ended up dead anyway as a result. But Leon and Charlie arranged to have her killed anyway by paying the prison officer who was clearly working with them. He's on the books to make these people disappear if they deem to be untrustworthy. So it shows that Prater has his claws in all levels of the industry. The detectives were onto something, and when Mia's victim from the previous episode mentioned that she said to him, "You'll be my first victim in New York," it made Claudette doubt that she was the person that was responsible for Ryan's death, even though the watch was there. Batista literally has the case cracked in that it was Harrison that did it, right the way down to the fact that he was trained by his father and Dexter planted the watch there. He just needs the evidence. Mia probably would have been able to have given them that in revealing who Dexter was, but with her now gone, there's no chance they're going to be able to uncover the identity of Dexter being the Bay Harbour Butcher. Whilst on the topic of revealing identities, it was a close call for Dexter when Red's post was overflowing and the food was mouldy in his apartment, showing that he hadn't been there in a long time. So Dexter's quick recovery on the phone was something that I was impressed with and worked really well. The focus on the importance of family. With Prudence dying, somebody that was always there for Blessing and was seen to have saved his life by taking him away from the Revolutionary United Front, she was his hero. And with Dexter hearing how she saved him, he wanted to be that very hero that he heard about to his own son, Harrison, taking him away from the darkness that he basically bestowed upon him and keeping him on the straight and narrow. Harrison had this vision of killing Elsa's landlord due to him being somebody that didn't care about his tenants' welfare and the fact that her son was getting sick. Instead, blaming her for being a bad mother and a bad tenant, when in reality it was his responsibility to get it fixed, and you could see that moral code that Dexter has in his mind going round in Harrison's. Ultimately seeing himself killing the landlord, but he managed to stop himself from doing it. When he spoke to Dexter about it, Dexter mentioned how there was that human side in Harrison that was preventing him from being a monster, and that he did the right thing. Whilst I think Harrison has been tamed for now, I reckon with Elsa not paying the rent, the landlord is going to come back and he'll end up doing something that he'll probably regret. Dexter is all about protecting his son, and with Harrison being led by emotions, I actually think he'll end up in jail by the time that the finale comes around. There was a piece of dialogue that was spoken in a speech at Prudence's wake, and it was second chances are there to be taken. This is applicable to so many avenues of the season. It's there with Harrison looking to go off to college and wanting to better himself. But it's most applicable with Dexter and Harrison's relationship and the fact that they're both back in each other's lives following Harrison thinking that he'd killed him. The way that Dexter taught his son how to do his tie in the same way that his father taught him, and us also having the shot of the 3 generations all together. It showed the deeper theme of this season and it brought it to the forefront, each individual looking to their father for advice and guidance, even though they're not all there. My review of the episode. I thought this was a great episode of the show. I thought the twists and turns that it had were the most exhilarating that we've had all season. I had a slight inclination that Gareth could have been a twin just due to the fact that he killed in pairs, so it felt like there was always going to be a deeper connection to that. But having one of the twins arriving in the car and appearing like a ghost for Dexter was just such a great way for the episode to end. I love the fact that Dexter also now has this information and nobody else does, because he can really use it to his advantage. One of my most favourite moments, and one that I think is a little underrated from the episode, is when Dexter was at the wake. Seeing him being so awkward around death, which is an environment that he's usually so comfortable and used to, was just humorous. Just the way that people would ask him if he was comfortable around dead bodies, and then later on with Blessing saying, "Can you imagine?" when referring to killing somebody. These people really don't know who he is, and it just makes me chuckle to myself every time. I'm not gonna lie, I was a bit gutted that Mia was killed. I thought she was a great character, and I would have liked to have seen her potentially drop some information that could have got Dexter into some trouble. Whilst we didn't learn a whole lot more about Prater in this episode, one thing that we did find out was that he paid Gareth more money for preview pictures of the victims. Photos when the victims know that they're gonna die, but whilst they're still alive. It really does show what a sick individual that he is, and it could connect to him having something to do with the New York Ripper. Maybe he's getting the thrill in watching others do the killings, seeing the photos and collecting the relics because he felt he was on the cusp of being caught. So this could be scratching that itch for now. It's just one theory, but I'm enjoying learning more about him because it's all just unraveling slowly and we're getting these small pieces of information. Dexter Resurrection is one of the best shows on TV right now. It's just gorgeous to look at. The pacing of it is always spot on. The story is so engaging and easy to follow, but it doesn't feel dumbed down because it's been written intelligently, and I'm just sitting here wondering who's going to be next, Al or this new version of Gareth. Let's wait and see. So, there you have it, Dexter Resurrection Episode 6, Ending Explained. If you want to see every serial killer in Dexter Resurrection explained, then check the video below. What did you think of this episode? Share your thoughts in the comments. As always, thanks for tuning into the video and I'll see you in the next one.